barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me. Hurt my feelings.
What's going on, Destination Devy fam? It's your boy Jay Rich. I am back to talk to you guys about something that I think is really important when we talk about the transition from the 2020 to the 2021 season and kind of the implications of how things are going to go down. You know, Ray talks to you guys a lot about the upcoming class, about the rookies, how they're performing, and most importantly, like we've talked about, it's the running backs. It's the running backs, it's the running backs, it's the running backs. How good some of these running backs have been, how good they haven't been. You saw last week, Ray finally gave you the breakdown on Jonathan Taylor, and you guys seem to really enjoy that. So I wanted to discuss one thing for you really quickly, is that there's not a whole lot coming for this running back class. We've talked about Travis Etienne, we've talked about Najee Harris. That's kind of the two big guys. But beyond that, you know, you have Chuba Hubbard, we got Journey Brown, who unfortunately had to retire. You know, there's going to be CJ Verdell, who will probably come out and be a pretty good running back, but we're not expecting a whole lot of bell cows, not expecting a whole lot of production coming in. It's supposed to be a lot of really good quarterbacks, some good tight ends, some good wide receivers. But what does that mean for us right now? It's something that we have to consider as fantasy owners, because a lot of us, we're still trying to figure out some of our rosters. Some of us have some great teams. Some of us have some rebuilding teams. Some of us have Saquon Barkley. And for me, I have a couple teams with Saquon Barkley, and it's one of the things I'm thinking about right now is like, yes, he's a great talent, but the problem is that I still need, you know, a second running back to kind of pair with him, and it's forcing me to start to think about what do I do with some of the running backs that are just kind of middle of the road. You know, we see these Miles Sanders we see Cam Akers isn't even getting on the field, Malcolm Brown, Darrell Henderson playing over him. And even Joe Mixon, another guy, got re-signed. Aaron Jones still hasn't got his contract. I mean, hopefully he gets re-signed. But there's just a lot of things kind of up in the air right now. It's been a very tumultuous year, a lot of injuries. But how do we kind of mitigate that risk going into next year? We've seen so many things go wrong this year. How do we prepare ourselves for next season? And one of the things, at least as far as I'm concerned and I'm trying to trade for running backs that I feel have the best job security. And I'm willing to overpay to do that. If that means giving up some of my really great wide receiver prospects, because I have a lot of teams that are loaded at wide receiver, getting rid of some of those guys for the sake of having stable running backs. Like, you look at Deandre Swift, basically playing 30-40% of snaps for the past couple of weeks. Finally, Detroit says, okay, we're going to give our stud running back the ball. What happens? He scored a touchdown on the ground. He scored a touchdown on the ground, a touchdown through the air. He has 150 yards, and he looks like a stud running back. Good luck trying to get Deandre Swift from anybody right now, but if you can, go out and get him, because he's a guy who's you're going to want on your fantasy rosters. Was RB4 this week. I believe he's just outside of an RB1 territory despite that lack of touches so far this season. And he's just a guy that you're going to really want. You know, he's a stud. He's a supreme talent. We knew it when he stepped on as a freshman at Georgia with Nick Chubb and Sony Michel. He's going to be a stud. And now he's a stud. He's getting the workload. So you want a guy like that on your roster. You don't want to have these guys who aren't getting the production, or they're maybe splitting time and all these different things. Or you don't want to be hoping to find a gem in the draft, because frankly, I don't think it's going to come unless you have a top 4 pick. It's just probably not going to happen for you. You know, there are the chances that you maybe hit on a James Robinson, or you find a guy like I was even talking about earlier with Ray. We're talking about Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones is a guy who could be a viable fantasy option next season as well. You know, we saw what happened this week, and he fumbled, but you think he's going to get benched, blah, 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 whatever. They keep him on the field. He runs 97 yards for a touchdown. These are guys that are probably going to be fantasy viable next season as well. We talked about James Robinson, and again, there's not a whole lot coming in, so he may have job security next year as well. And so I don't want you to be selling running backs right now, because you could sell them for draft picks, but you're going to end up picking up wide receiver, tight end, maybe a quarterback if you're lucky, or a lesser quarterback. And so if you need running back help, you need to trade for them now. You need to trade for them in the offseason. You need to trade for them like as soon as possible, because there's not going to be those buying opportunities like there was last season. If you try and pick up Cam Akers because you think he can be a stud in LA, if you try to pick up J.K. Dobbins before he finally explodes because he's been disappointing. We talked about Jonathan Taylor, picking him up while he's been disappointing. And then, of course, Deandre Swift, if you can go out and get him, even though he's exploded, had a first really, really good game, seeing 70% of snaps, if you can get him, go out and get him and try and pair him with a stud you already have, or at least get one for yourself, because you're not, like I said, you're not going to be able to get that. That's not coming in, you know. That's not what we expect. We expect wide receivers for days, and that's why, you know, as much as I love some of these stud wide receivers, even the T. Higgins, Michael Pittman just had his first 100-yard game, which was amazing to see. There's so many good wide receivers. Even Chase Claypool's blowing it up. You know, Justin Jefferson's the stud. CeeDee Lamb's a stud. Top 10 pick in fantasy drafts. Like, but we don't need any more. There's so many great wide receivers in the NFL right now. There's so much volume going around. It's easy to pick up wide receivers, but it's shifting to running backs right now. Like all the value you should be pouring into running backs. You shouldn't even be buying wide receivers. There's wide receivers like for days. You can go pick up Tyler Boyd for like nothing right now. You know, you can get Tyler Boyd easy. He's probably a wide receiver 2, maybe wide receiver 1 sometimes, wide receiver 3 stable, nothing flashy. Who cares? It's Tyler Boyd. Like, why do we care about Tyler Boyd? No one does. Everyone wants Justin Jefferson. Everyone wants CeeDee Lamb. Everyone wants DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams. Like, those are the guys you want to have because they're difference makers. But these kind of middling guys that maybe could be really good, maybe aren't so good. Then there's going to be, you know, Rondale Moore, Rashad Bateman, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, Seth Williams, Tamorrion Terry, like so many guys. And all these guys are all going to declare for the draft. All of them. I didn't even mention Jamar Chase. All these guys, all these wide receivers, supremely talented wide receivers are all declaring for the NFL draft. And they're all going to be drafted, you know, probably top 3 rounds. Lots of wide receiver talent coming in that's going to push out some of these guys that we really like right now. So I would definitely recommend, if you can sell wide receivers for picks, if you can sell wide receivers for running backs, you're going to be much better off in the long run because you're going to have that stable of running backs for the next 2 or 3 years that you will need. And you can constantly, you know, use the draft tactics that we talk about, use the trade tactics we talk about, and find value at the wide receiver position, because running back is going to be the hardest spot to find value in the coming years. There's just not a great influx of talent until 2023 when we see some really, really talented running backs that we're watching in college right now. But as far as I'm concerned, coming into this season, we're not going to see a whole lot coming into 2021. And so you're going to really need to figure out who are these running backs that you want. If you have an Alvin Kamara, a Dalvin Cook, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, hold on to these guys because they are going to be irreplaceable for the next year or two. Unless something changes or someone kind of comes out of nowhere, we're not going to see as much from the stud running back as we hope in the next couple seasons. So just something I want to talk about with you guys, something to think about as far as building your rosters, constructing trades, trading away draft picks. If you're trading away draft picks to try and get a running back, you have to have a very high pick. And as far as I'm concerned, I still think it's a bit of a long shot. I don't think the talent is there unless you're talking about Najee Harris, who's probably the most complete back in the class. Travis Etienne as well could be a very good stud running back. We saw what he does in college at Clemson, but he has still some concerns as far as I'm concerned. But again, supremely talented. Chuba Hubbard's really fallen off. Of course, there's still guys who can emerge, still can become something. Their stock can rise, but again, there's not as much supreme talent like we saw from this past draft class coming into this class. So definitely, I want you guys to think about that when you're building these rosters, constructing these trades. Think about, do I have enough running backs? Do I have good running backs? Are there going to be running backs on my team for the next 2 or 3 years? Or do I need to think about making some trades with some wide receivers for running backs because of this influx of talent that we've been telling you about for what feels like over a year now? All these good wide receivers that are coming in that are going to take over the league, take everyone's jobs because they're really, really that talented. But the running backs, they're not there. This class had 5 really good running backs and a few other ones that kind of, again, surprised us. But we're not going to see that influx of talent at the running back position heading into the 2021 season. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please drop it a like down here. Drop it a comment. Let me know what you guys think about some of the running backs I'm talking about. Obviously, buy your Deandre Swifts, buy your Cam Akers, buy your J.K. Dobbins, buy your Jonathan Taylors, buy your Clyde Edwards-Helaire if you can, because this is just not going to be a whole lot of talent coming in. There's not going to be a whole lot of talent. So make sure you get those running backs to keep on your rosters. Keep that stable. Keep it moving. Thank you for watching this video. Destination Devy is happy to have you here. Make sure to check out the Patreon for even more Dynasty and Devy content. Patreon.com/allgas, where Ray can hit you up with some rankings. We hit you with exclusive video content, podcasts, articles, all kinds of stuff, trading cards, man, like everything is in there. So make sure you check that out. Again, that's patreon.com/allgas. Thank you guys for watching this video. Buy up those running backs before it's too late. All right, J Rich is out. Peace.